Hello everyone, it's The Worm, and I'm back with Raging Loop. Today we're going to have a little bit of a talk. We had a pretty big scene last time, and, well, I felt it only appropriate to go through it a bit. But before that, I'd like to comment on something. Last time was a pretty interesting experience for me, as someone who is Let's Playing. It was an interesting sensation where, we got to the scene, the big scene, and then roughly halfway through it, I realized something. I was just in the middle of it, and suddenly I thought, wait a second. I have barely spoken at all for however long it's been. Isn't that wrong? Aren't I supposed to be commentating or doing something? And so for a brief moment I was a bit thrown off and concerned, but then I decided that, the game was certainly doing enough to hold my complete attention, and it didn't really need any further commentary in the moment, so I just decided to go through the rest of the scene. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because it looks like, from at least the comments I've gotten so far, is that people seem to be understanding of that, and I appreciate reading that sort of thing. That whole scene, it felt like the culmination of quite a lot of different things, and it also felt very earned to me. So I felt, that there was nothing I could say would really be additive here. It would probably just detract from the moment. So I'm glad that people seem to be able to appreciate that as well. So essentially I'm saying thanks for that. And that gives me, now that I've had this experience, I feel confident that should there be other moments, either in this game or other games that I Let's Play, that people will be, will probably be understanding if there are moments where I just don't speak. It's probably because I'm really interested in what's going on, or I'm just captivated by what I'm seeing. So, with that out of the way, yeah, how about that scene? Pretty dang good. As I said, felt earned. This is. I feel like there are a lot of. Well, I feel like there are a good amount of visual novels that do this sort of thing, where they have a moment to go through their whole cast of characters, sort of one by one. Certainly, in quite a few of the ones I've played, that has been the case. So I don't know if that's some kind of trope, but yes, going down each and every person, and Haruaki, we've felt the loops over and over again, and certainly we've seen that he has gotten to the point where, yes, he can do this. He can go to every character and say what needs to be said, and I felt it. I really felt that there. So, yeah, all really good stuff. Here's one thing I want to do. I want to try and summarize my understanding of kind of the background here. So feel free, if you don't like when I summarize, feel free to sort of skip ahead a few minutes here. I want to see if I got this down. If I don't, feel free to correct me, but I feel like we've now, with that last scene, have come to an understanding of what exactly is going on here. Now, and I want to try and make sure that I understand. But again, if I don't, feel free to correct me. I'm going to try and go through the background to this. As I said, we haven't gotten everything yet. We still don't know about the Dreamer. We still have Rokako and the journalist to go through. But I think we have enough to firmly understand the background of our story. So let's try to do it. So, first we had, in ancient Japan, the ancient god. We don't know the name of this ancient god, but this was a god of the wild, so to say. And with the coming of humanity, this ancient god did not appreciate the encroaching humans and sent various wild creatures, including wolves, after the humans. And so these ancient humans of Fushioshi decided to... what would the motivation be? Not placate the god. They plan to usurp this deity by creating their own, and the method through which they did this was to sacrifice a family of 3. And this family of 3 would become what we know as the Okami-sama. And this Okami-sama gamble actually worked. This triune god was able to usurp the powers of the ancient deity and became a sort of protector and bringer of prosperity to the ancient people of Fushioshi. And as the settlement of Fushioshi developed, people were also sent to live in what would become Yasumizu, specifically because that is where the graves of that Okami-sama are. So, this state of affairs continued for quite a while. This was, I believe, Haruaki said 600 years ago. But at some point, Okami-sama, the understanding of their significance and their importance began to wane as Fushioshi developed even more. And the people of Yasumizu became impoverished and, resentful of the main settlement because Yasumizu was not as prosperous just naturally in resources than Fushioshi, and they were looked down upon and all that sort of stuff. And this led to, as Haruaki described, the people of Fushioshi even tried to, well, maybe not try, they did poison Yasumizu's people, using their advantage of being upriver. They poisoned the river. And then in response to this, we had the rebellion that has been mentioned several times, where they covered themselves in mud and attacked Fushioshi. And although Fushioshi was able to repel Yasumizu and eventually gain victory, this event left them scarred. And so the people of Fushioshi decided they would have to remake aspects of their culture and religion in order to assert absolute control over Yasumizu. And as part of doing this, they not only changed the religion and the culture, they went even further and usurped the powers of the Okami-sama. And this is where all the name changes come in. Okami becoming Shinai, Fushioshi becoming Fujiyoshi. All that sort of stuff happened there. And so now we have the fake Shinai god and the 4 guardians that have usurped the individual powers. And we have the dominance of the Fujiyoshi settlement. And then we have the implementation of the feast as another way of control. And so now everything has come to a head with this final feast where Haruaki dons the mantle of the Okami-sama, reveals the truth, ends the feast, takes back the powers of the original deity and grants them once again to the original deity. It's all wrapped up pretty nicely, and you know, I don't think I was able to do it, but I think if you were a bit more, like, if you were Japanese reading this and not sort of understanding the word games a bit better, I feel like you might be able to sort of put things together a bit more easily before this point. But, I mean, it all makes sense to me. I don't think I'm leaving out anything major. We still don't know stuff about Mako, but she served a pretty important role this time around, so that's good. And also, I'm a bit confused about the interaction we had with Chami at the end there. And yeah, Chami's just a bit of a... So let me try to understand a few of the supernatural things here, because there is absolutely supernatural stuff going on here, beyond the dream. So, well, let's start with Haru, because Haru's one I think I understand perfectly well at this point. So Haru, she lost her parents in one of the feasts. She was likely scarred by what she saw when she entered the mists. And in attempting to sort of cope with what had happened, she somehow developed another personality, right? Okay, as a coping mechanism. However, in doing so, I'm not sure if this other personality she created was originally meant to be the ancient god or not, but regardless, the ancient deity was somehow revived by this process and merged with Haru. So, yes, there is Haru, and yes, she has an alternate personality, but the ancient deity is also real and merged with Haru. So, the ancient deity and Haru are one, but also not. It's a bit difficult to put into words. And then there's this idea that was brought up with Chami, and this whole scene in general, where the people of Yasumizu, perhaps due to their proximity to the Okami-sama, are affected by Okami-sama's presence, which Haruaki was able to embody when he wore the mask and helmet. And so we saw that especially at the end, where he ordered Chami to shoot him, and she seemed to be forced to, even though she really didn't want to. And all the people in Yasumizu were forced to listen to him, even if they were a bit surprised. And there were a few comments by Takumi where he says, oh, what did he say? He said, I have to listen to you. I feel that you're the god, but that doesn't mean I have to believe you. So, just by living here, these people have some sort of supernatural connection to the Okami-sama. And that apparently goes back to the Okami-sama promising to protect the land and the people on it. So, there's that aspect. And then Chami, due to what happened with her, she was bitten by wolves, and that brought her close to Yomi or something like that. She was able to sort of visually see this connection. She was able to see the god around people. So yeah, that's all me trying to sort of work through what we saw last time. So yeah, we still have some remaining mysteries. We have the Dreamer. There's Mako. We need to go through the journalists and Rokako. We haven't gone through them yet. And, this whole scene last time was great, and I loved it. And it was pretty powerful. but it felt like it went a bit too smoothly. So either we really are getting the best end here, or we're about to get something in our something big is about to step in our way and trying to prevent this from going on. I don't know if it's the Miguruma or what, because the ancient god seems to be placated. She seems to be on our side now, so I don't know where resistance is going to come from. We sent the old man to the village center, so Haruaki obviously has a plan there. I guess we just have to see. We have to deal with the wolves and the werewolf, or the dogs and the werewolves. I'm not sure how that's going to work. But anyway, let's stop asking questions and let's actually see what's going to happen, shall we? All right, let me take a quick break, and then we'll get back into the game. One moment, please. Okay, we are here. So, Haruaki has just been shot, and apparently went flying over the cliff. You know, I was thinking if this was supposed to be his act, so to speak, I was thinking maybe he gave her a blank or something. And because we know in the past that was something he did. He replaced the shots in the shotgun with blanks. That's how he was able to overcome Chiemi in Wit. So that's what I was thinking, but I don't know how he survives falling off a cliff, even if, well, let's find out. Let's see what happens. Not like I could actually die, though. Of course not.
すっごい面白いマジでどういう神経してんだ君は。一応聞こえたらまずいからしーね。しー。よしよし、いい子だ。ちょっと悪い。学習能力すごすぎるぞ。
Basically, I just bungee jumped backward the moment Chiemi fired. Aha, okay. So the work he did with the ropes and stuff the other day, that's what we did. Okay. It's good that we didn't well, they did this is understandable. We knew about the ropes. Yeah. The rope couldn't be too long because we could end up hitting the cliff, so it was only about 10 meters long. But it was bungee jumping nonetheless. I'd prepared the rope during the little time I had after getting the mask. I only had one shot at this, and it actually worked out. Thankfully. With this, God was dead. Great Lord Shinai, Yamatsu Okami, the two-faced god of fear and oppression, was killed by a fitting stage and a decent plot. He spoke his last words for each of the weak, yet good people of Yasumizu. He understood them well and encouraged them to follow a different path. Then he reconciled with the true god, the one given the dirty name of Badger, and passed on the rites. They no longer had a reason to fear the mist, blindly follow the fake laws of the mountain, or kill each other because of some legends. They would never hold a feast of the Yomi Purge again. So, Mission 1. Stopping the people of Yasumizu from killing each other in the feast has been completed. Even Chiemi, who was so afraid of Great Lord Shinai and God, had literally defeated the source of her fear. I could only hoped it fixed her murderous side too. Anyway, the sun had sunk. We had to move before it was completely dark. I switched to the other rope I had here and went down to Saranaga. All right. We'd made it down, but what was I to do with Meiko? Considering the story I made up, I couldn't bring her with me. All right, I'd just make her wait.
メイコちゃん、この後しばらくそこの岩の陰で待っててもらえるかい?
You're gonna make a kid wait? For how long? I doubt this plan, Haruaki.
どれくらい?
2、3時間かな。 寝ててもいいけど、他の人が来ても出てきちゃダメだよ。
お腹すいた。
岩陰のバッグにあるものは全部食べてよろしい。お菓子はまだたくさんあるぞ。いつもはダメだが、今日は特別だ。
Okay, with the candy, I think you'll probably keep her here. She ran off, and I turned around.
来やがったか。なんつう霧だよ。10歩先も見えやしね
Ah, okay. So when he said that his wife is waiting down by Saranaga, he meant sheep, huh? All right, fair enough.
羊さん。
茶番は終わりだっつったよな。あ
ああ、お待たせ、三辻。
なんだったんだよ。一連の茶番はよ。
Finally a name to the face, huh? Mitsuji Misamine. That's fitting, right? Isn't, I'm going off what I hear, or what I've heard. Isn't Hitsuji sheep? Doesn't it rhyme? It rhymes with this, doesn't it? Mitsuji? At least I think it does. I don't know. And I don't know the meaning of Misamine. I don't know the meaning of all these Japanese names. But, maybe it means something. Who knows?
いや、別れた彼氏を謎の方法で追ってきたんだと思って、全力でスルーしようかと。
聞くだけ無駄だった。てめえはそういうやつだよ、春秋。
君はいつも有言実行だよね。
こんなのは無理なんだいっつんだよ、バカ。
Behind her, there were 3 rubber boats with oars.
で、これからどうすんだっけ？
これから半ば放心状態の一団がやってくるから、適当に神様っぽいことを言って誘導して、適当な宿泊施設に保護。
後半はいいけど、前半は何なんだよ。
まあ、迷信とやり合うための方便ってやつさ。君だってある程度、ここがそういう場所だって分かってるんだろ。
まあな。めんどくせえ。
あのコンビニ店員のノリはやめときなよ。一応言っとくけど。
ありゃ相手がてめえだからやったんだからな。いくら俺でもあんな非常識じゃねえっての。
プレイだったのか。
マジで殺すぞ。
君の能力とかバックグラウンドとか後ろについてる組織だとか、そういうのは当然聞いていいんだよね。
まあもう会うことはねえし、聞かなくても問題ねえだろ。
そう言って別れて2週間くらいで再会したでしょうが、あれ何なの？もしかして本気で偶然？
偶然だと言いたいとこだが、まあ縁ってやつかもしれねえな。
本気で言ってるのか？
ああ、世の中そういうもんだからな。
本気の蜜汁ほど信じられるものはない。信じよう。
本気っぽく見えるてめえほど信じられないものはねえけどな。
You laughed.
で、そろそろ真面目な話しよっか。
もうすぐ俺は黒幕に捕まるぞ。
まだ耐えてたの？
まだってなんだおい。こっちは必死に時間稼いでるつもりなんだぞ。
なるほど。なるほど。だから何もなかったのか。オーケー。めちゃくちゃ助かった。じゃあなおさら、急がなきゃだ。
The worrying thing for me right now is we know that the dreamer has a means of ending the loop early. So, at what point does the dreamer see all this occurring and decide, okay, restart? Because This is all well and good, but...
まあ一応気をつけろ。
なんか君には父に赴く時を見送られてばかりだな。
父って。
まあさっきは助かったから次も助かるな。
いいから無事に帰ってこい。別に迎えはしねえけど、死んだら後で目覚めが悪い。
了解。まあ生きてたら一報入れるよ。
いや、考えてみたらてめえが死んだらどのみちゲームオーバーだから、別にいらねえ連絡。
ひどいな。やれやれ。ま行ってくる。
まずは神様を殺したんだっけか。
ああ、次こそ君の要件。巻き戻りの黒幕とやり合ってくる。
Yep. I mean, it has to happen eventually. Mission 2. I had to deal with the Master of Gloop, who wanted the monster's resurrection. This one didn't need as much preparation or acting skill as the first one. All the info I'd gathered over the loops was enough to make me certain by now. I just had to face the person one-on-one and be completely honest. That was easy. But the person was the problem. I'd probably be walking on a fine line here. I had no idea how well my thoroughness, guts, and verbosity would hold up against the enemies. And once the final mystery was revealed, I wasn't sure I'd have what it took to properly retaliate. It was something I'd have to consider at that moment. I had to do it.
頼んだぜ、春明。
I'm thinking... Okay. My thought at the moment... Actually, there's a couple things I want to say. First of all... Are they implying that they knew each other before this? First time we broke up? I mean, when I read that, a part of me was thinking, what, is she Haruaki's first girlfriend, previous girlfriend? Is that what this is implying? Or is he referring to something else? Huh. Weird. Yeah, I'm a bit confused about that. Okay. And second thing, well, considering who we haven't really... Okay, there's a few people that have been saved for later. There's the old man who cried wolf. He's been sent to the village center to wait, right? So I guess he could be a contender for Dreamer. And then there's the, well, there are the two journalists. They're not around here right now. But considering they are two outsiders, they're extremely low on my list of who I would suspect. So who's the other villager we've left for last? It's Ms. Uematsu? Rokako? Is she the Dreamer? That could certainly be one reason why we've left her for now. I guess we'll have to find out. I got up on the cliff again and hid near the graveyard. The mist was dense and I couldn't see much, but I was used to it, so straining my eyes helped out a lot. I soon saw the people of Yasumizu absent-mindedly make their way down to Saranaga. Everyone besides the old wolf guy was there. Good. After confirming that, I went to the plaza. He was standing alone in there.
逃げも暴れもしないとは意外ですね。いいですよ。そんなふりは本来
Oops.
あなたの仕事でしょう。こういう例外的な逃亡の阻止は
Sorry, Haruaki.
いいですよ。そんなふりはしなくて。
てめえと話したくてな。
ふりをやめてくれて助かります。手っ取り早く済ませましょう。
てめえ何者だ。俺と同類ってえのはわかんだけどよ。身車の手のもんにしちゃわけがわからねえ。じゃが
He was putting his hand into his clothes to take out a weapon, surely. Unfortunately for him, I already knew his cards.
俺の砦をようも崩してくれた。落とし前はてめえでつけっか。
僕はあなたの弟子ですよ。
はあ？
まあ面倒なので説明は省きますが、あなたがいなければ僕はみんなを助けることはできなかった。それに報いて生かしてやろうって言ってるんです。このクソじじい。
His eyes were filled with a silent anger.
まあ60年だか前の事件を今さら蒸し返しても警察も困るでしょうし、あなたが心を入れ替えてちゃんと安水を守る気を持つならこのまま生かしておいてもいいでしょう。
随分と大冗談じゃねえか。
身車は廃れますよ。
はあ？
今日は何も起きない。今後霧が立っても一切何も起きない。なんならいいことがあるかもしれない。あなたの仕事も隠れ家ももうありません。水路もすべて表にさらされるから。さらに安水の住人ももうあなたをただのボケ老人とはみなしません。
何の証拠で？
さっき気づきませんでしたか？あの場には銃を持った人間が2人いた。千恵美以外のもう1人はずっとあなたを狙っていた。あなたが暴れた時、至近距離からあなたを殺すために。あなたは猛録した。あなたが人を殺せるのは霧の中で狼装束を着て神の意を借りてやっとだ。たった今あなたが僕に切りかかっても僕はそれを余裕でかわし、転ばせ踏みつけて殺すことができる。そうなるとせいぜい不意打ちしかできなくなるって言うんですよ。しびれ薬でも飲ませるとかしないとね。でももうそれも無理です。あなたがここに居座っても住人たちはあなたに心を許さない。ここはもうあなたの砦じゃない。あとは皆に頭を下げて死ぬまでかくまってもらうか、それとも東京のつて高を頼るなりどこへなり行くか、どっちかを選びなさい。
つまらねえことになったな。
十分楽しんだでしょう、あなたは。
いや、最後にもう一人。よけてみ、わけの。へへへへ。
He raised his blade, took an unexpectedly fast step toward me, then tripped.
だから、言わんこっちゃない。ああ、滑った担当が、口から脳天に突き刺さって即死、ですか。天網開会ってやつなら、もっと苦しい死に方にしてほしかったな。希代の悪人の最後としては。草が結ばれてる？誰だ？こんないたずらやったのは。その誰かには、一応感謝しておこう。罪悪感を持たれてもあれだから、ほどいておくか。
Anyway, I was satisfied with the result. I thought about this and that, but as long as he was alive, he'd always been a danger to someone's life. That was all he'd done his whole life, and it was best to accept his death for what it was. Leaving his corpse, I went off where I had to. Excuse me, the grass was tied. So it wasn't that he tripped, it was he was tripped. Okay. Of course, he wasn't the one in charge of the dream, so he wasn't my real target. Extra mission. Get rid of the latent threat, the violent old man. Completed. Hey, we gotta get that, we gotta get our XP up. Complete all the side quests. Mission 2, dealing with the Master of the Loop who wanted the monster's resurrection, would begin now. Not in the dining hall or back home, huh? Then, maybe here? The culprit's plans must have changed badly because of Mitsuji's hard work.
こんばんは、リカ子さん。
She was right there.
あなたはどなた？
You know, thinking about it just a little bit, it would, I mean, the pieces were right there. The bedside women servant, the bedroom women servant, the spider, the dream catcher, the dreamer.
いいですよ、そういうのは。ご存知なんでしょう？全部。
夫妻子春明様、お待ちしておりました。
The two acquaintances who'd never met exchanged a greeting. It was a very normal greeting, but that was what made it warped and strange.
そりゃあ、光栄だな。
でもこんな形では望まなかった。何も知らぬまま夢の中に遊んでおいていただきたかった。あの羊は仕留めました。ご心配なく。彼女はただ夢に触れる手立てを私に取り上げられた。ただそれだけのこと。再びよみがえる円環の中では彼女は無力なる観客として指をくわえていただきましょう。
否定はしないんですね。あなたが全ての黒幕だということの。
先ほど望まなかったと申しましたが、私は存外喜んでおります。 春明様がそこまで私を知り、幾万の夜と命を賭してこの場に至ってくださったことに、長き宴の末にこのような日が来ようとは、私も思いもしておりませんでした。なればこそ知りとう存じます。春明様、どのように知られたのですか？私がすべての糸を主会と。
え？だってあなた、さっき全員が揃った場でいなかったじゃないですか。
え？それだけですか？
いや、違いますけどね。
お聞かせください。どのように私を突き止めたのかを。
Ah, she'd gone back to the heart of the matter. She'd probably punch me if I'd said something like, you're the spider, of course you're the one pulling the strings. I'd take it seriously. Of course, there were things I didn't understand. Or more like, I understood because I didn't understand them. Though that was quite complex. It was the spider. The Uematsu guardian and symbol, the spider. Japan had no faiths that revered them. The other guardians had archetypes that were clearly related to mountain religions, even the wolves. The spider, however, wasn't. The Shinai faith was a religion created to control. Thus there was no reason to include anything without a clear origin. In fact, it was completely unlikely that a family of prostitutes would use the Joragumo, a term for orb weavers, as their messenger. After all, that was a yokai, not a god. Though the difference between them was minimal, but gods still needed to gather faith. In other words, Joragumo, Ugomo, and all that were just anomalies, strange incidences that could appear anywhere. Unless they garnered faith from the locals for many years and were accepted. Unless they garnered faith from the locals for many years, were accepted, and could live beyond just words, they weren't gods. However, the Uematsu actually had no divine authority despite controlling the most mythical section of the Shinai faith. This was strange. Of course, the Uematsu had a weakness in that people looked down on them because of their nature. However, the amount of suspicion, cruelty, and harshness directed at you was just unnatural. And that was despite being a good person most of the time, unlike Kinosuke-san. I wondered why. The Uematsu had divinity in the Shinai faith too. That was when the spider archetype came to mind and turned my question into suspicion. The Uematsu, the spider, might have been some sort of an exception in the Shinai faith, an unnatural entity. It seemed to me that the spider's god could be an outsider that didn't fit in with the mountain faith. The ritual to take in the corruption could have easily been the secret centerpiece behind the whole faith, no? It was a miracle that it could cure everything, after all. It was something that any new religion would kill to have. Imagine all the adherents they could gain. And if it was the real deal, any cult or dogma with weird origins would forcefully add it into their teachings. That wouldn't have been weird, right? The historical documents prove that many outsiders had come to help create the Shinai faith. Some might have been people from some shrines that wanted to take the snake, monkey, or crow for themselves. Then they also might have given themselves authority by putting their symbols in their teachings. The current village heads might have been descendants of such people, though that could have been a stretch. Now, who was to say that the Uematsu ancestors didn't enter the settlement during this time and ram their symbol into the religion? Heretics who believed in a warped god. It was included in the religion, but only on a surface level. The truth behind it had been hidden by the Uematsu and wasn't included. That made everyone here unconsciously feel that there was something unnatural, something wrong about them. Thus they were looked at with scorn, and that was probably why they could take the disorderly profession of prostitution as their family trade. Though that was just an assumption. You could tell me if I was wrong later. Next, it was time for doubts about her as a person. I'd experienced the looping phenomenon. At first, I thought it was something that had happened once I died. But then I realized that wasn't right. I'd keep my basis a secret, but I'd realized a few things once I'd thought about the loops that happened without my death. For example, there were loops that happened without me having any memory of dying. I'd underestimated it, thinking it was only because of some memories, especially ones of your death, weren't saved properly. However, there were definite loops that happened without me ever dying. It was just the general image of the loop gave me the idea that the mist, death, and rebirth were linked, making me assume that I must have died. When I thought of it like that, I'd started thinking that the loop happened not with my death, but with the dream's master. That was the opposite of how it usually was in such scenarios. Normally the master's death meant the end of the loop, but most people had died many times within all this looping. Looking at it that way, the loop should have stopped a long time ago. The master should have died, yet the loop didn't end. Thus, I began believing that the death of its master activated the loop. That would make sense. After all, they could try it again if they messed up. They could instantly take full advantage of the looping, as I'd first thought I had. Of course, it was possible that the culprit was in a safe spot anyway, like Kamafujiyoshi or the mountains. That would make them impossible to reach, but they could reach this place all they wanted. Of course, the Miguruma observed Yasumizu from a distance, so they could have done that easily. However, there was something strange. I'd seen so many deaths, but there was one person whose corpse I'd never seen. It was Meiko. No matter the route, I hadn't seen her. No matter the route, I hadn't seen her final. I think that's a typo. No matter the route, I hadn't seen her final moments. That made her really shady. She'd seen that ending once, though, so I figured it wasn't her. She didn't know of the conspiracy. But there was someone else who seemed shady. It was you, Rikako Uematsu. I'd only seen your corpse once, when it was suddenly all over, but you were hanged in the hall. I looped soon after. Well, I'd tried killing myself then, but looking back at it, the mists were already there before I fell. The looping was strangely linked to the mist. For all I knew, I might have looped without actually dying. Besides that, I'd never seen any of your corpses. You were the only one who'd left the game in unusual ways. The chief example of that was the Yomibito transformation. You'd gone insane and been locked in. But you'd stayed alive, to be alive, right? Even if your madness was real, it should have been possible for you to survive inside your house for a few days. If that was just some sort of act, you could have drank some water or hidden some food for your survival. Well, I didn't think it was a complete act, but even so, your actions were strange. The reality that you took in the corruption of the feast actually made my suspicions for you all the more certain. The Yomibito transformation was just you taking Chiemi Serizawa's murder penalty for her, right? That had to have been impossible. After all, the Feast of the Yomi-Purge was an artificial killing spree run by the Miguruma. It wasn't something that could be cured by your ability. However, if there was someone who knew about the cameras, the eye of the Miguruma, and was capable of asking for something like that, someone who could bend the rules like that without undermining the Shinai faith, the Miguruma would readily accept their wish to die instead of the actual rule breaker. There had also been one time you told me to run. Had you expected for your desire to succeed for some reason? Or for the same reasons? While thinking that you looked a bit shady, I'd found even more proof of that. If the culprits were really the Miguruma, like I said before, they were surely observing this moment too. They could use their safe position to easily press their loop button or something. I considered that the culprit had watched it all from the mountain with clairvoyance or something, then reset everything at certain times. But the culprit seemed too naive for that. Anyone who watched enough would easily understand that I'd kept my memories. They would recognize me as a danger and take care of me. That meant that the culprit had to have the perception of a normal human. Thus, to make something happen in Yasumizu, it had to be someone in Yasumizu. You being the culprit would also explain why you'd prepared Meiko a separate place. After all, you knew that the mist was coming. And lastly, you'd said this.
もし明日会えずともいずれまたいずれのせいでより穏やかなせいで巡り会いますよ
That wasn't right, was it? The Shinai faith either denied or forbid resurrection. That was why they said rise not. It was forbidden for something to go to Yomi then come back. Someone who could say that was either part of a different faith or knew about the loops. I turned out to be right on that. One more thing.
きっかけはわかりません。あの日、墓毛越しに春明様を一目見たその時から。
This was a mistake I'd made several times myself. You'd said something based on memories of an event from a previous loop. I did think you were extremely careful in that regard, but you weren't above slipping up. You'd said those words in the timeline where I'd moved to Yasumizu. When we'd first seen each other then, you were behind a rock, one of the Okiba at the entrance of Yasumizu, not behind some leaves. And, well, that was the day after I'd crashed and ended up in Chimi's room. Our very first meeting, right? You also had memories of the loops. From your perspective, did you have any other reason to hide that besides the fact that you were the one behind all this?
以上ですか。
ええ。不足ですか？
いいえ、十分です。私は先ほどあなたがここに現れるまでは何が起きているやら混乱するばかりでありました。私がずらした夢の始まりが私の許しなく二度も揺り戻された。その解決に躍起になっておりました。そもそもあなたや芹沢様が夢に変化をもたらす理由も確信は何もありませんでした。ただあなた様の僕がもうやったというお言葉から少しは考えていたのですよ。
I knew I shouldn't have said that lightly.
もしそうならあなたがなぜか記憶を保っているならどれだけ素敵だろうと繰り返す宴の中 自分たちだけが思い出を分かち合えるとなればね。
女性はそういうのが好きですね。
愛のみにて死ねる生き物ですから。特に植松の娘はね。
They sold love and lived by feeding off of it. That didn't make sense.
あなたが愛を語るのは奇妙だ。
なぜ？
あなたの神は怨念の神だろ
う。そこまで知っておいでで。
消去法ですよ。あれだけの奇跡を起こせながら真意を感じさせないほど廃れた存在、忘れられた雲の神たり得るもの。植松家は土雲だ。この国の精神上の始祖である天津神の血族に滅ぼされた芦原の中津国の土着の民の末裔があなただ。その象徴するものは太古の現在、この国の民が心の底の底に秘めた最初の罪に対する罪悪感。今の自分たちの繁栄を大昔の虐殺の上に打ち立てておきながら、それさえ忘れていることへの危機感。それはこの国全体を覆っている薄い、しかし致命的な呪いめいた感情だ。そして感染者の母数が多すぎる。具現化すれば国を滅ぼすような天変地異を起こしかねないほどに。それが夢の中で抽象的に表現されたのがあの化け物ってところでしょうか。
お見事ね。
She smiled bewitchingly and applauded me. This wasn't the silent, bashful Rokako-san from before. This was an entrancing, shameless Uematsu, her mask as a prostitute. No, I didn't know which one was the mask at this point.
そう。私たちは、その身に夢の土雲を宿した怨念の一族。
She'd been acting bashful while hiding this sentiment in her heart.
その悲願は、ヤマトの民の皆殺し。
With that as her sole goal, she'd praised the devotion and sacrifice of the people of Yasumizu, and used them.
一度は叶ったその悲願を引き戻した。あの羊と春明様のことを子憎らしく、今や愛おしい。
どういうことかわかりませんね。憎みなさいよ。
あなたはすでにあそこにたどり着いた。だからあなたの記憶をその時点で止めて、それ以上のことを思い出さないようにしてしまえば、あなたは確実に同じ結末にたどり着いてくれる。
I couldn't deny that.
そうなれば、ああ、むしろ愛しくて愛しくてたまらない。愛しきあなたにこのように赤裸々に全てをさらけ出せる機会をくれて、私の身も心も今とても喜んでおります。
Sudden switch in tone and the content of her words made me dizzy. To me, She was actually more enchanting, adorable, and beautiful than ever.
あなたが愛しいのは野望を叶えてくれる存在ってだけでしょう。
いいえ、雲は貪欲よ。食べられるものはみんな愛おしいわ。嫌味ではないわ。本当に愛おしい。ヤマトの民は憎いけれど、それすらもはや愛おしい。彼らをすべて焼き滅ぼしてこの腹の中に収めたら。
She rubbed her abdomen.
そこで皆を地獄の気楽の夢へと誘いましょう。とこしえの官能に泣き叫ぶ1億の御霊を末永くとろかし慈しみお手遊びましょう。だから私は本当に皆様を愛しています。
The spider's archetype was the Great Mother. That was what this reminded me of.
とりわけあなた様を。
She suddenly looked away like she was bashful. The situation was abnormal, but the gesture was one that could shake the core of any man.
わからないですよ。理解できない。
わかるわ。いずれご存知なのでしょう。夢の土雲が復活する条件。
わかりませんよ。あなたの目的はあの化け物の復活。そのために読み意味の宴を繰り返す。意味不明だ。事実、その二つには直接的な関係は全くない。ただ、怪物が復活したあの瞬間だけ、宴の結果に極めて特殊な条件が発生していたのはわかる。それは、霧が出た時点で休みずにいた藤吉村10人の全員があなたを除き死亡していたということ。
ああ、そこまで気づいて。
I knew it.
もしこれがあなたの目的なら、あなたがこんな異様で持って回った陰謀を起としたことには、なるほど、合点がいく。植松家には大量殺人を行える権能など存在しない。余震馬一人や二人殺せても、あなたの細腕では絶対に目的を遂げることはできない。その上、植松家は休みずで敬遠または嫌悪されている。あなたは宴を生き残れない。だから殺し合いの機会を利用する。うまくいかなければ何度でもやり直す。ああ、そこまでは分かりましたとも。
That was where the final secret lay. It pissed me off, but I had to ask her directly.
しかし、分からない。土雲の復活に関わる伝説上の根拠なんて、安水にも上藤吉にもどこにも転がってない。そもそも狼と土雲は無関係だ。である以上、陰謀の正体とは宴を利用した大量殺人と考えるしかない。しかし、それでも藤吉村の人間がなぜ犠牲になるべきなのかわからない。黄泉の民として安水の住人が何人死ねばいいとか、そんな話かもしれないと思わなくもなかった。で、上藤吉の人間である野里清之助氏が宴に招かれた理由がわからないからだ。なぜ彼だったのか、彼の属性ゆえか、ただの頭数なのか、それとも彼という個人が必要だったのか。少なくとも彼がここに投留することは実家に命じられた 意図的なものだ。誰かの意図でそうなったんだ。それはあなたなのか？だとすればどうしてこの奇妙な取り合わせを犠牲として必要とした？それが奇妙で奇怪でいびつで不気味で岩で理不尽で不可解で怖くて怖くて怖くてたまらない。最後の謎だ。なぜあなたは彼らを殺す？
みんなかつて愛したから。
Ugh. Oh. I don't know if it was her face or this sentence, but I just got this horrible chill, just like electricity, like a bolt of electricity went through my spine. Ugh. That voice, that smile, they were both those of a monster.
植松とは下方の民。一族の怨念は深い。しかし生き延びるために先祖の怨念を、それがもたらす下方の権能を利用してきた。それこそが忌々しき引き取り。植松の闘士たる女がそのうちに宿す。怨念の権化にして我らが神、夢の土雲。怨念の成就のため、この世のあらゆる害悪を、財業を、王愛を奪い、貪り、蓄えんとする。大いなる汚れの雲をだまくらかして、奪った疫病を遮血して排出し、雲の復活を防ぐ。
So that was why she was covered in blood after taking something in.
そうして植松の闘士たる女を万能の厄払いの装置として乱用し、この国で生き続ける。そうやって植松家は堕落した。
使命を、悲願を忘れ、神の力を全く逆の方向に利用したのか。
ええ、その通り。しかし大いなる雲がそのような小賢しき企みに気づかぬはずがありますまい。密かに少しずつ疫病をため、やや子を産んでは逃がす。それを再び集めては蓄え。夢の土雲は、植松の代々の当主はそうやって一族の目と灼血を逃れ、汚れをためてきた。そして植松の命脈がいざ絶えんとする当世において、ついに復活に足る汚れが集まった。あと
それを回収するだけ。
みんなを愛したというのは、じゃあ
文字通り愛したわ。そしてやや子を宿させた。
Oh. Oh. Oh man. What a disgusting truth.
この集落でコレラが発生した時、浄化のため植松家が献身的に働いたと聞いた。しかしあなたなら死ぬわけがない。あなたの力は本物だから。当時あなたはとても幼かったはずだが。
そう、この村の長者がそんなこと気にするはずもない。
Shit.
香織さんは義継君を産んだ時難産だったと言っていた。死にかけたと。
私が苦しみを、血の汚れを引き取った。口を使って全部。
Shit.
春ちゃんについては狼付き騒動の時にあなたが引き取りをしたんだったな。
ええ、ムジナ様はとても可愛らしかった。あの方とは利害が一致したから雲の復活には黙認をいただいたわ。天津神の秩序が滅びれば再び山の闇、黄泉の闇の権勢が戻る。ああ、素晴らしい。
Shit.
狼じじい氏はあんな非道な人間だ。無理やりどうにかしたってことがあるかもしれない。
あれは思い出したくない。
鴨志田近持については
もちろん桔梗の振る舞いの相談で引き取りもしたし、彼は可愛いから上藤吉では仲良くしていたわ。
I don't want to understand your meaning. That little.
安永君はどうだって言うんだ。
あの子はちょっと可愛かったから合宿の時に寝てあげたの。
最低だ。あんたは。
あの子は夢だと思っているから大丈夫よ。
最後、芹沢千恵美、身車千恵美は身車が飼っている狂犬病にかかった犬に噛まれた時引き取りを行った。そうだな。
ええ、その通りよ。
なぜ彼女の汚れを引き取れなかったことにした？
だってそれが大昔親内様の軍門に下る上での約束だったんだもの。親内様の汚れは神の罰。おいそれと引き取ってもらっては困る。だから引き取れない。いいえ、引き取らない。
当然あなたはそれを知っていた。千恵美はそれを覚えてないようだったが。
びっくりしすぎて細かいことは忘れちゃったみたいね。
当然あの首飾りの存在も知っていたはずで、あの時あなたが初めて見たようなことを口にしたのは芝居だったってことになる。
ええ、それであなたを助けた。
そうやって僕と千恵美を断るごとに助けたのも全て意図があってのことだろう。僕らが特別だとうすうす気づいていたから。
ええ、ええ、理由は知らなかったけど、あなたたちが円環の流れを変える力を持っているのは明白だったもの。最初 あなたがいなかった時、あの子を味方につければ望む結末が見えるかと思ったの。
As a result, she'd continuously given Chiemi a good impression, making her less suspicious. If Chiemi, someone who could keep her memories, found out that she was a bad guy, her conspiracy would become impossible to achieve.
しかしそこにはたどり着けなかった。
ええ、あの子はうまくなかった。
だから今度は僕に親切にしたのか。
それはだから言ってるでしょ、あなた特別愛おしいからよ。ただただ好奇心の赴くままにやや子を一人一人解き放ち、我が元へ送ってくれた。聡明で淡麗でこの上なく歪んだ心をお持ちの最もまがまがしい狼。共に参りましょう。大いなる雲の体の上で果てなき閲楽とともに夜道を渡る旅へ。
夜道。
山は闇、闇は読み、読みは夢、夢は山。とこしえの夢、無限の快楽。それは幸せな、とても幸せな地獄。それをこの国のすべての民の屍の上で共に貪るなら、私はあなたと一緒がいい。最も愛おしいあなたが。
She said that with a serious tone. Apparently, a devil had just confessed to me. Oh man, I was actually interested and honored. But
それ以上喋んなくていいや、リカ子さん。
someone got in the way.
ちえみちゃん。
She broke her promise to God. She didn't think I was dead. Several questions came to mind,
どうしてここに？
but that was the first one I could say.
私は4番手よ。残念ながら。
なんだって？
みんな。
A moment later, they entered. Haru-chan, Mochi, and
リカ子さん。
随分とゾロゾロ来たもんですね。
Mission 2 had an unexpected development.
野里さんが最初よ。植松さんを置いていけるかって。
そんでボートを降りて戻ってきたおっちゃんをなぜかはるちゃんが追ったから、そりゃあ僕は追うよね。
仕事を一つ忘れたことを思い出しての。
それでようやく私も呪縛が解けた。みんなが動き出してるのに全部知ってる私が神様殺しの余韻に浸ってる場合じゃないよねって。
So, she really had realized my plan. But even so, she couldn't resist God.
ヤスくんやタクミ兄ちゃんに後のことを頼んで、私がしんがり。というわけで最終局面乱入部隊の隊長はあなたよ、野里さん。正直同情するけど。
リカ子さん、さっき言っていたことは全て事実なのか？道すがら芹沢千恵美が言った巻き戻りは、我々の殺害は、その果ての化け物云々は事実なのか？
はい、野里様。今まで騙していて申し訳ありませんでした。
Rokako-san used her usual voice, but it just made it stand out more. She bowed her head.
あなたが私に思いを向けてくださっていることを私は密かに喜んでおりました。
あまりに滑稽でそんなお顔はなさらないで。他のお方よりはあなたはそれでもまだ愛おしいわ。春明様との永遠の交わりの寝台くらいにはして差し上げましょ
う。いいから黙れっつってんですよ、リカコさん。
撃つの？撃って。それで完全な最後の円環が完成する。幸せな夢、かつてなりかけた最上の地獄を完成させるのはあなたがふさわしい。愛しい愛しい春明様を奪ってゆく私を憎みながら撃って、それをことほぎとして夢をなすわ。
そっか、神様は殺せたけど死んで完成する神様はどうしようもないのか。
どうすんの春明。我はもう土雲殿の企みからは手を引くが、それでも難敵ですぞ。
Man, this was troublesome. I would have liked this to be finished in secret. Mission 2 became unexpectedly lively.
皆さん、せっかく集まってもらって悪いんですが、
I still had to say it.
僕は彼女と共に行きますよ。
Everyone lost their expressions. Only Rokako-san looked at me with an ecstatic expression.
嘘だ。なんでいくら春明さんでもそんな悪ふざけ笑えないよ。
まあ気持ちはわかるかな。りっちゃん可愛いし、しかも魔王とか面白すぎるからな。
リカコさん、もうやめてくれ。全てが事実だとして死んで手に入る幸せなんてあるはずがない。
あら、お医者様らしいお言葉。
あなたの人生は確かに辛いものだっただろう。あなたの一族が味わったのは確かに比類なき苦難だっただろう。だからといってそれを全て放り投げて修羅に走るなど。
まだずれているの？私は完全に落ち戻り、永遠の幸せな地獄を作るのよ。
そんなもの幸せではないと言っている。あの日私を救ってくれたあなたは私が幸せにするのだと言っているのだ。
ああ、あの時の坊やが立派になったものね。でも心は純真なまま、初めての女に入れ込んで思い続けて、本当に滑稽だわ。
そういうわけですみませんね。この人は僕がもらいます。
She jumped at me and embraced me with the innocence of a child.
好き好き好き愛してる。ようやくあの時の賭けを清算することができるのね。
賭けって何？春明さん。
Oh, how pitiful.
もしあなたが他にもうこんな不愉快な秘密を溜め込まないでいいと言うならば、久石春明は植松里香子を信じます。
久石春明は植松里香子を信じる。
そして僕は植松里香子のために、あなたは久石春明のために生き残る。
僕は植松里香子のために、彼女は久石春明のために生き残る。
それでもし生き残ったら、あなたは久石春明に、僕は植松里香子に何でも好きなことを望んでよい。
それで生き残ったら、彼女は久石春明に、僕は植松里香子に何でも好きなことを望んでよい。
そして生き残りました、春明様。そしてこれからも生き残ってゆく。あの時の植松里香子を救うための方便とは言わせません。この耳でしかと聞き覚えていますから。
ええ。
大いなる雲の前での誓いとみなしますから。
それはそんなに大事なんですか？
もちろん。破れば滅びあるのみです。
そりゃ仕方ないな。
久石春明様は夢の土雲のもとに下り、私と定めを共にする。それが私の望み。さあ、お望みください、春明様。どのような悪行も宝刀も快楽も私が叶えて差し上げるから。
Oh, what a wonderful offer.
なんでそんな優しすぎるんだよ。春明さんはどの女の子も救おうとして、その場限りで適当なこと言って、それで水戸国が滅びるならもうしょうがないね。あなたに救われた私は文句言えない。リカ子さんが救われるのに文句なんて言えない。バカ！春明さんのバカ！知恵ねえ、落ち着きなよ。春ちゃんはなんで落ち着けるの？春ちゃんだって春明さんと。まあ、我の場合はこのお方の心を読んで知ったことじゃから少々ずるいがの。私が教わったのは悪だし、春明がいなくても好きにするし、気に入らなかったら勝手に奪うし。ただね、知恵ねえ、いたいけない田舎娘に悪を教え込むようなひねくれた腐れ下道の春明がそんな約束すると思う？え
？Rokako-san hesitantly loosened her grip. Then she took a step back. Her eyebrows were furrowed in suspicion. Oh, how pitiful.
名前は久石春明。東京で大学院生やってます。久石春明って誰ですか
Really? Okay. Okay. I really didn't expect to be caught doing marriage fraud.
そんな名前の人間この世にいませんよ。というのは言い過ぎかな。どっか探せば一人くらいそんな名前の方がいるかもしれませんね。
夫妻師春明様、夢の土雲のもとに下り、私と定めを共にする。
かわいそうに、そのなんとか春明さんは夢の土雲と定めを共にすることが決定してしまった。
彼女は夫妻師春明に、僕は植松里香子に何でも好きなことを望んでよい。
まあそれとは全然関係なく、僕は植松里香子に好きなことを望んでいいわけですが。
たく。
おお、
なんだなんだ。
She suddenly took a dagger out from her sleeve.
やはりあなたは最高ね。最高で最悪の七種のゴンベイさん。駆け引きは次に持ち越しましょう。あなたが覚えていたらだけど。
The dagger went to her throat. Crap, I had to make it in time. I had to tell her to stop this conspiracy. At that moment, all light vanished. In the midst of that, was a scream. It was a scream so scary it seemed inhuman.
何にも見えないぞ。
おのれもっち、どこを触っておるのじゃ。
何をしてる。電源はどこだ。
This was unexpected. What happened? But going at someone with a knife in the dark was just... While I, all talk that I was, couldn't even force myself to act. I heard something heavy drop to the floor, then something metallic. The next moment, the lights came back. Before me, I saw Rikako Uematsu, lying on the floor. She wasn't moving at all. Was she dead? No. The dagger was clean and still in her hands.
取り押さえて。
Chemi moved first, then Kinosuke Shi. One took the knife, the other held her hands behind her back. She was unconscious.
何があったのかな。
リカコさん、リカコさん、大丈夫ですか。
つくづくぶれないな。今気づかれたら困るっての。春明さん、どうする。
踏んじばってすっ転がしておこう。縄は確か奥に。
ひどい。
血も涙もないな、おっちゃん。
おっちゃんじゃない、ハッサンだ。なぜみんな引く。
言い方はともかく拘束は賛成。
We went and did just that.
私は。
目覚ましたけど、舌とか噛まれたらやばくない？
なんか布をかませようよ。
頼む。彼女にはひどいことをしないでやってくれ。
だから自殺させないようにしなきゃ大変なことになるんだって。
そうやって物や災害みたいに彼女を扱うから、彼女はそこまで思い詰めるに至ったんじゃないのかね。
おっちゃんがなんかまともっぽいこと言ってる。
リカコさん、どうか今しばらく猶予を。私は 確かにあなたに勝手に惚れた身だ。いや、横連母と言ってもいい。しかしあの日のあなたの乾ききった瞳を見た時から、それを潤すことのできぬ無力を味わってきた。しかしそれでもこの後に及んであなたを諦めることなどできない。どうかどうか私にあなたを幸せにすることを試みさせていただきたい。
He was really straightforward. But that didn't really matter to her.
雲が夢の土雲がなくなってしまわれました。
She said something we didn't understand.
あれあれあれ、どこへ行ったの、土雲。私のすべては私に愛しいということを教えてくれた神様。
I had no idea why, but I could tell. She no longer had any divine powers or scary conspiracies left. All that the Uematsu family, Rokako Uematsu, ever had vanished all at once. But even so,
僕は望む。植松里香子が土雲の復活を放棄し、ただの人として、女性として、まっとうに幸せになることを。
I gave her those cruel words. She began crying. I did feel bad. I had considered taking responsibility for her and taking her with me. But the one to embrace her and console her as she cried was Kinosuke Nasatoshi, not me. If he chose to take that role, I had no business stopping him. I would just let him have it.
これで解決いたしましたの。
それでいいの？神様が言うなら信じるけど。
己がいただく神に誓った約定じゃ。違えることは生涯できまいて。まあ、我らの中には未だ土雲殿がやや子と称した汚れの種が埋まっておろうが、我が力を取り戻しし暁には造作もなくほじくり出して狂うて信ぜようぞ。はよう社を建てるんじゃぞ、モッチーよ。
オッケー。
やあみんな。夫妻師春明です。
うわ、詐欺師の人だ。
ひって
一応不便だから春明さんって呼ぶけどさ。
大友
女としてあれはないわ。
植松里香子にちょっと同情した。
じゃあ少しもしてやったりって思わなかった？
思った。
Such honesty.
ま、そういうことで。ごめんね、里香子さん。さよなら。
春明様の赤。
Mission 2. Dealing with the Master of the Loop who wanted the monster's resurrection had been completed. Nothing more needed to be said, even if it gave me things to think about.
君には何をどういったものかまだわからんが。
Neither do I, Kyo. Well, that was a roller coaster. Alright, I need to go to sleep, so I'm calling it here. We'll talk about this next time. I've been The Worm, this has been Raging Loop. See you next time.